Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Awesome. I think we were supposed to start from verse 28, if my recollection goes correct. Is that what you all remember as well?
Yes.
Okay. Who would like to get us started?
I can do it.
Go ahead, please, Aditi.
Arjuna Uvacha Drishtveman Swajanam Krishna Yuyutsum Samupastitam Sidanti Mama Gatrani Mukham Cha Parishushyati Vepaduscha Sharire Me Romaharshascha Jayate.
Go ahead, Satiji, if you want to do the word-to-word meaning as well as reading the
Yes.
description.
Yeah. Arjuna, Uvacha said, Krishna, O Krishna, Yuyutsum, desirous to fight. Samupastidam, well stationed in battle positions. Imam, this. Swajanam, my own people. Drishtva, seeing. Siddhanti, lose all their strength. Mama, my. Katrani, limbs. Mukham, mouth. Cha, and. Parishushyati, dries up. Me, may, my. Satre, in the body. Vepatu, trembling. Roma harsha cha jayate, and the hair on my body is standing on its end. Arjuna said, Krishna, look at these people who are my own people, well stationed in battle positions and desirous to fight. My limbs are losing all their strength. My mouth is drying up. My body is trembling, and the hair on my body is standing on its end. Thus, under the spell of such a deep compassion, Arjuna said to Krishna, looking at my own people who have come with a desire to fight, each one very well prepared and well stationed, my limbs have lost their strength. Arjuna was so overwhelmed by the sight of his own people in both armies that his limbs gave in. They seemed to have lost interest in performing their functions. His hands did not want to lift or move in any way. It was the same with his legs. His mouth went dry and his whole body was trembling. His arms and legs were shaking and the hairs on his body were standing on their ends. Any intense emotion can trigger these physical reactions. By their description, we can understand Arjuna's condition. He himself explained it to Krishna in this verse. Krishna, still holding the chariot steady, looked over his shoulder at Arjuna, listening to him. Later, in the Gita, when the real dialogue between them began, he altered his position and turned around completely to face Arjuna. In the next verse, Arjuna continued describing his physical symptoms, telling Krishna that it was not possible for him to stand, let alone fight. That's all right.
Sorry, I didn't realize I was on mute. I was saying, does anybody else want to do Sloka 30?
Yeah, I can do it.
Go ahead, Anita.
Gandivam shramsate hasta tvakshaiva paridahyate nacha saknomyavastatum brahmativa cha me manaha. Hasta, from my hand, Gandiva, the bow of Arjuna, Smraste, slips, Tvak, skin, Kacha, and Eva, indeed, Paridahyate, burns, Nacha Saknomi Avastatum, I'm not able to stand up, me, my, Mana, mine, Cha, and Brumati Eva, totally confused as it were. The bow Gandiva is slipping from my hand, and my skin also is burning. I'm not able to stand up, and my mind is totally confused as it were. Arjuna's condition was such that his bow, known as Gandiva, was about to slip out of his hand, his entire body for him to stand properly in the chariot. He said to Krishna, "It is not possible for me to stand, let alone fight." He also thought he was losing his mind. As though this was not enough, he was ill. He saw ill omens everywhere.
Awesome. So I think last week we were talking about what are the three things that these symptoms are trying to show us, like in the form of Arjuna, what is a samsari going through. So from 26 to 28, Vyasacharya was showing us the problem of what raga is. So which is the first symptom of samsara, like we learned last week. And from the 28th, the half of 28th sloka to the 31st sloka, so one more, he will be showing us, the Vyasacharya is showing the second problem, which is the grief, shoka. And then the last one will come up as moham. But here, what we have to observe, the object of attachment varies. The problem of attachment is universal. So I could be very attached to my son, or I could be very attached to money, or in some cases I could be very attached to even achieving moksha or something, like even Bhagavan. Oh, I'm so attached to such a devotee that I don't want anything else. If one day I'm unable to do my puja, that day seems to be a very bad day to me. So attachment is a universal problem. What we are attached to is very different. So here Vyasacharya is trying to show us that since attachment was intense, the grief was also very intense. So they are equally proportional. So there is lot of attachment. Then the shoka that follows is also very high, and the moham, the delusion, also will be equivalently high or even more, because each of these is like an extending ripple and impacts the next step. So that's what I think we need to understand from this sloka. But once we go through some of, some more slokas, then we'll come back to ponder on this problem. Does anybody want
Shiji,
to do?
can you just quickly tell me what that raga was? I forget.
Okay, so raga is attachment,
Okay,
shoka is sorrow, moha is
okay,
delusion.
okay. I can read this one.
Please go ahead.
Nimithani cha pashyami viparithani keshava na cha shreyo nupashyami hatva swajanamahave. Keshava, oh, viparitani, bad, nimithani, omens, cha, and, pashyami, I see, ahave, in the battle, swajanam, one's own people, hatva, killing, shreya, any good, cha, and, na, not, anupashyami, I see. O Keshava, I see bad omens and I see no good in killing one's own people in this battle. Seeing his own people standing there on both sides, Arjuna could see nothing good coming out of this battle. His own people would be destroyed, people like Bhishma and Drona. Even Duryodhana was his cousin after all. All the omens he saw, both psychological and physical, indicated to him an unpleasant outcome.
So I just want to point out here. Here he is saying suddenly, all the now ragam, the attachment, and the what we call as the mamakara and ahankara, the me and my, comes into picture between them. So he's saying, I'm seeing. Sorry, there's a lot of noise. Okay. So I'm seeing these people who are all my relatives. I am seeing these people who are all my relatives, and I belong to them and they belong to me. So here there is an I and me and my that's coming into picture. So everything else beside me suddenly has disappeared. Now it is about, oh, these are my people, therefore I'm not going to hurt. Like there is nothing that is good that's going to come out of this, is the kind of perception that's coming here. So you have to observe that. So this is the extension of raga, because there is an attachment that me and my would come here. And then how that turns into grief and moha, we will see those. Taraji, would you like to do one more sloka?
न काङ्क्षे विजयं कृष्ण न च राज्यं सुखानि च किं नो राज्येन गोविन्द किं भोगैर्जीवितेन वा ओ Krishna, O Krishna, Vijayam, victory, Nakangshe, I do not want, Nacha Rajyam, and not even the kingdom, Sukhanicha, nor comforts, Govinda, O Krishna, na for us, Rajyena, with a kingdom, Kim, what is, Bhoge, with enjoyments, Jivitena, by living, Va, even, Kim, what is. O Krishna, I want neither victory nor the kingdom nor comforts. O Govinda, of what use are a kingdom, enjoyments, or even life to us?
Oh, sorry.
Because he knew he would not be happy when this battle was over, Arjuna had no more desire for victory. Since Arjuna did not want victory, he would not get the kingdom back from Duryodhana. If he wanted the kingdom, victory was important. But Arjuna said he did not want the kingdom also. Not having the kingdom meant that he would have to suffer. He would have to go back to the forest and perhaps live the life of an ascetic, living on roots and so on. Duryodhana would never allow him to stay in his kingdom. He had already made that clear by refusing to give him even a house. Was Arjuna ready to return to a life of deprivation without the comforts the kingdom would provide? He had just said he did not want victory, the kingdom, or comforts either. If there was no victory, there would be no kingdom, neither of which Arjuna wanted now. Without a kingdom, there would be no comfort, which also he no longer wanted. What did he want? He no longer cared. What do we get out of a kingdom? He asked. What do we get from all these enjoyments? Even by living, what do we get? Nothing. By destroying his own people, what would he get? If he destroying them would give him a kingdom, what kind of a kingdom would it be? Arjuna did not think it would be sane bargain at all. Even if he commanded enjoyments, how could he enjoy them with the nightmares he would have because of having destroyed all of these people? In this way, Arjuna argued that victory, a kingdom, and even life itself were useless. You want me to read that verse?
So I think,
Someone
yeah, we'll
else?
just do one more sloka and then I have some, I think, some comments to make.
Okay. Yashamarte kanikshatam
Kangshitam, no.
kankshitam. Yashamarte kankshitam no rajyam bhoga sukhani cha तयिमे वष्टिता युद्धे प्राणां त्यक्त्वा धनानि च येषम् अर्थे so whose sake na bias rajyam kingdom kangshitam was desired bhoga enjoyments sukhani pleasures cha and teime those same people pranan life dhanani wealth cha and tyaktva abandoning yuddhe in the battle avastitha have assembled. Those for whose sake the kingdom, enjoyments, and pleasures were desired by us, they have assembled in battle, having given up their wealth and their lives. Arjuna's thinking was that a kingdom and the enjoyments that go with it had only been desired by him for the sake of the very people whom he would be destroying, those who had come ready to die in the battle. To win the battle, he would have to destroy Duryodhana's entire army. There was no such thing in those days as retreat in a battle. Even if it were possible, Duryodhana would never have done so. He was a king and a despot at that. He would never give up. If anyone else ran away, he would have shot him from behind. There was, therefore, no way for these people to survive this battle. Many of those who were going to fight on Arjuna's side would definitely have to die. When Bhishma fought, he did not throw flowers, nor would there be garlands strewn about when Drona was fighting. People would die by the thousands, and thus the battle became meaningless for Arjuna. All these people had given up their wealth, including their wives and children, to come and fight. Arjuna could make no sense of it at all.
Awesome. So here we have to observe one thing, and it's a beautiful, nice transition that is noticed. While on one side we are seeing that raga, shoka, and moha, there is also some other things we are starting to notice in Arjuna's psychological, like, thought process that's going on in his head. So on one side we are saying, oh, he just, in Sloka 123, I was just, making sure that was the right number. In Sloka 23, he was saying, Dartra Rashtrasya Durbuddhehe. He called them Durbuddhis. And here he is saying, oh, they're all my people. While that is happening, the most important transition, one of the important key transitions was happening in the slokas 33 and 34. So if we go back to this sloka for a quick second, he's saying, uh, yeah, this one, the 32, sorry, that's what I was looking for. Nakankshe Vijayam Krishna, Nacha Rajyam Sukhanicha, Kim no Rajyena Govinda, Kim Bhogair Jivitenava. So I'm not interested. I don't have any kanksha for the victory or the rajyam. So when I don't even have my own people, what's the benefit of having a rajyam is the question that he's bringing up here. So they just completed their 12-year vanavasam and then extra year of ajnatavasam, and have been in the forests and roamed around like for so many places. And he just came back, and now he's thinking that is fine to live compared to killing his people. So there are positive thing and there is a negative thing that's happening. So we'll look at what is positive. In Brahma Sutras, very specifically, Shankaracharya talks about these four key qualities a human being is supposed to have that will transform him from being a regular human being to somebody who is in the search for the higher form of knowledge. And those qualities are, Shankaracharya tells us, is first one is vivekam. And vivekam is a regular word that we generally use in our regional languages too. Vivekam almost feels like intelligence. But the actual meaning is discrimination or discriminatory perception. And here vivekam is almost atma, anatma. What is the discriminatory difference between atma and anatma? Drishta and drishyam. Who is the seer and what is the seen? So that differentiation of knowing what is the satya vivekam, or what is the truth and what is not true. So this is called as viveka. And that Bhagavan will teach us as we go into chapter 2. He will help us understand from, I think, sloka 11 to 25. That will be very in detail, beautifully explained to us. So we'll leave Viveka at that point. Now, the second quality is Vairagyam. And we all know, I think it's the same regional connotation in most of the languages too. So Vairagyam is, how do we describe it in English?
Detachment.
Sorry, what was that?
Dispassionate?
Yeah,
Detachment.
detachment, and not attached to anything. On one side, he is showing attachment towards people because he has seen his grandfather and his teacher. On the other side, he is showing detachment towards all the worldly, materialistic things, including a rajyam, including victory. None of these matter to him anymore. The other two that we will see as we go on to the future. So mumukshutvam is an important quality Shankaracharya talks about, which is the fourth quality in the four that we are talking about. And mumukshutvam comes when in Shloka 2.7, where Arjuna is asking Krishna to help him find the right path. And he says, "You are my guru, teach me Shreyas." That's when he is seeking moksham, and he becomes a mumukshu. And then in the future, like, in many other chapters that come through between 1 and 6, I don't know if many of you recollect or not. Initially, we were saying slokas. There are 18 chapters in Gita. The first 6 chapters talk about us, the tvam. It talks about, it says you. And from 7 to 12, it talks about tat, the Brahman, the God. And from 13th chapter to the 18th chapter is about asi. So it becomes almost like tattvamasi, the explanation of who we are, who Bhagwan is, and how these two are united together. So the Shatka Sampati is taught to us in all of these chapters, the following 5 or so till chapter 6, on how to find that Shatka Sampati, mind control, sense control, and all of those, patience, Shraddha, all of those will come in those in those slokas, or in those chapters actually. So here we are seeing an important first quality, which is the Vairagyam. So wanted to mention that before we move on to the next one. Any
Excuse me.
question? Go ahead.
Excuse me. What were the slokas that you said is talking about raga and then shoka and moha?
So Raga comes from 22 to 28, half of 28th sloka. And from 28th second half till sloka 31, it says shoka, and then slowly it transforms into moksha. Sorry, moha. Sorry, moha.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
No problem.
So
Okay.
in this case, it's showing that he doesn't have Vairagya because he's attached.
So he is currently going into that delusion mode. So far, he was not attached. He was here to do a dharma yuddham. They did not really want the Rajyam. They said, even if you give a house that has 5 doors, that's also fine with us. Because we belong in the Kuru clan, we are supposed to live in this kingdom, not like aliens in some other kingdom. So even at that time, they had a lot of Vairagya. But what happens is the attachment that he is seeing now, he's attached to a few things, but then he's showing dispassionate to material things. But at the same time, because of the raga, he is also leaving dharma behind. As a kshatriya, he is supposed to maintain dharma. So now Bhagavan will teach him to go back to think about dharma. It doesn't matter whether it is you or your people, it is a dharma. And that's why in fourth chapter, Bhagavan also says about when he takes birth, like an incarnation happens, dharma samsthapanardaya will come at that time. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so who would like to take on from sloka 34?
I could.
Please go ahead, Padmaji.
आचार्यः पितरः पुत्रस्थैव च पितामहः
Shwashuraha.
श्वशुराः पौत्राशालाः सम्बन्धिनस्ततः.
Yeah.
Te ime, these same people are Acharya, teachers, Pitara, paternal uncles, Putra, son, Tata eva cha, and so too, Pitamaha, the grandfathers like Bhishma, Matula, maternal uncles, Swasuraha, fathers-in-law, Pautra, grandsons, Shalaha, brothers-in-law, Tatha, so too, Sambandhinaha, other relatives, friends, and so on. These people are teachers, paternal uncles, sons, and also grandfathers, maternal uncles, in-laws, grandsons, cousins, other relatives, friends, and so on. Wherever Arjuna looked, he saw only people known to him, his teachers, grandfathers, sons, uncles, cousins, in-laws, and friends. These were the people who, for whose sake he had desired the kingdom. If they were destroyed, what use would the kingdom be to him?
Awesome. See, this is all continuation of Vairagya, so we won't spend more time on this. Padmaji, would you like to do 31st, 5th sloka as well?
Okay, sure. एतात्र हन्तुमिच्छामि ग्रथो ग्रथो अपि मधुसूदन अपि त्रैलोक्यराजस्य हेतोः किं न महीकृते
Awesome. I know
Madhusudana.
the
Okay.
print is very bad here. So it is gnatopi with a na. I know it looks like gra.
Okay.
Please go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. Okay, Madhusudana, O Krishna, the one who destroyed the demon named Madhu. Etan, these, Nyataha, who are going to kill me? Naichami, I do not want. Hantum, to kill. Api, even. Trailokya Rajasya Hetoha. Could you please move the page up, Sriji?
Sure. There you
Thank
go.
you. Okay. Trailokya Rajasya Hetaha, for the sake of ruling over the three worlds. Kim no, much less. Mahikrite, for this kingdom on earth. O Krishna, I do not want to kill these people who are about to kill me, not even for the sake of ruling over the three worlds, much less for this kingdom on earth. I do not want to destroy them, even if they kill me, Arjuna told Krishna, addressing him as Madhusudana, meaning the one who destroyed the demon Madhu. Even to rule over the three worlds, even if heaven were to come to him because of this battle, Arjuna did not want to see his people slain. How then could he justify their destruction for this small kingdom, which could be crossed on horseback in a matter of days? Do you want me to continue or?
Yeah, so wanted to just
Okay.
mention here that you will notice that he is just continuing the same thing over and over. You'll see a lot of repetition. Almost feels like when somebody is going through a bit of grief, not a bit of grief, sorry, some grief in their life, no matter what that could be, or some sort of a problem, and they are venting it with someone else. The repetition of the same point over and over will happen. I don't know if you have noticed that in, like, psychologically, they're telling you the same thing and they'll rephrase it. I don't have to say they, even I would be doing the same thing. If I have a problem, I'm sharing with my friend or my husband, I would just be repeating, I told that guy not to do that, but I don't know why. And we keep going on and on. And you would notice, like, these are some of the psychological aspects that you would notice even in Gita, and Arjuna is going through that as we speak. Okay, do you want to continue to the end of this topic, please?
Yeah, okay. Arjuna loses interest in the war. Arjuna was convinced that it would serve no useful purpose to continue this fight because he had seen that all the people involved on both sides were his own people. Because they were dear to him, their distraction was not going to make him happy. Even from the standpoint of Drishtaphala, the immediate results, such as gaining the kingdom and the pleasures and comforts that went with it, he did not consider the cost to be worthwhile. We've seen that he no longer cared for victory, much less the kingdom. Nor did he care for the, what is that? Privations, is it? Privations he would have to undergo not having the kingdom. What kind of happiness would he have, Arjuna argued, if he destroyed the very people he cared for? For him, then, there would be no Drishtaphala, nor did he see any Adrishta. The Pandavas were supposed to be the protectors of law and order. In a battle based on dharma, they naturally had to see that Duryodhana paid for what he had done. According to this law, if a man who was supposed to protect the dharma was derelict in his duty, Papa would definitely come to him. Papa has a sense of sin as we understand it. Any unbecoming action, any action which is not proper, will incur sin. Arjuna thought that by destroying his own people, he would incur only sin. Such an action would bring no punya to him, only papa. Therefore, no good would possibly come of it. So far, his argument had been based on drishtaphala, seen result. He then began to argue on the basis of adrishtaphala, unseen results.
Awesome. So here, Bhagavan has not spoken a single word. And when we are venting with somebody, if the other person is not validating and saying, yeah, you know what, I don't know why that person did that, if they're not encouraging or supporting us in our rationale for what has happened, then we continue to try to convince that person from our standpoint. So that's what, Arjuna will do all the way till, from, we are in sloka what, 35 now, all the way till sloka 47. That's what will happen. We will see various stages of how these, like, raga, shoka and moha work. Can somebody tell me, because this, he is saying we should not kill people, and that seems to be a fair point, right? There are millions of people that would die in this war, and all the amazing rationale he'll give in the next few verses, like, many women will lose their husbands and children won't have their fathers, and true points. But why does Krishna, and we know that the war has happened and Krishna has taught Arjuna to go fight the war. So what's wrong with compassion? Because the word that was used is, in a few slokas before, was parakripa is the word that was used, like, high compassion is what we could consider this to be. But why do you think it's not compassion, and why does Bhagavan say don't show compassion in this case? What's the difference?
Maybe because dharmo tirakshati dharmaha, because we want those, we have to protect dharma. That's coming to my mind.
Very good point. So the main difference between attachment and compassion is that in attachment, a person's vision of dharma and adharma gets clouded. But compassion's greatness is, however much a person is disrupted by compassion, he will not violate dharma. And in this, we can actually see some examples. So recently, a few men that were supposed to be hanged in India for quite a few years got hanged, and the Supreme Court, like, very clearly decided that they were going to execute these men who were adharmic, and they went and pleaded with the president and so on and so forth. So do they show compassion towards these people because they're asking for mercy, they're asking for forgiveness, they know that they have wronged? Or the judge and the Supreme Court, or the president, they have to say, you know what, we have to follow the rule, and therefore we will have to execute. So there we don't expect our judges or the president to be attached or show compassion. We expect them to be dharmic. So that's the difference between these two. So wanted to mention that. So we'll move to sloka 36. Who would like to take this one on?
I can try.
Please go ahead.
निहत्य धार्तराष्ट्रान्न का प्रीतिस्य जनार्दन पापमेवाश्रयेदस्मान् हत्वेतानाततायिनः Janardana, O Krishna, so called because he chastised those given to improper ways. Dhartarashtra'n, sons of Dhritarashtra, Nihatya, destroying. Na, for us. Ka, what kind of. Preeti, satisfaction. Syat, would there be. Etan, these. Atatainaha, wrongdoers. Hatva, destroying. Papam, sin. Eva, only. Asman, ashrayet would come to us. O Krishna, what kind of satisfaction would there be for us by destroying these sons of Dhritarashtra? Only sin would come to us by destroying these wrongdoers. Here, Krishna was addressed as Janardana, the one who chastises those given to improper ways. Previously, Arjuna addressed Krishna as Madhusudana, the destroyer of Madhu. Both names indicate that Krishna is one who did not allow anything wrong to happen in his presence. Arjuna was making his case to Krishna. What kind of satisfaction will we have? None at all. The people in whose presence the victors would be happy were the very people who would be fighting against each other. There would be no positive drishtaphala with all of them dead. No visible result would accrue to the victors. On the other hand, he believed that there would be definitely papa, the invisible result accrued to the doer of an improper action. Any action produces a twofold result, drishtaphala and adrishtaphala, as we have seen. With reference to a meritorious action, drishtaphala is any satisfaction you receive now, and adrishtaphala is the punya that you receive, which will later yield comfortable situations. For instance, when you have saved a person's life, the drishtaphala is his
Did I move to?
okay.
Yeah.
Drishtaphala is his or her thankfulness and gratitude to you, and the satisfaction of having done something good. For the same action, there is also some adrishtaphala, punya, accrued to you. On the other hand, a wrong action such as destroying someone produces uncomfortable situations now due to drishtaphala and again later due to adrishtaphala or papa.
Okay, so it is important to note that from this sloka, 36th till the 47th, we will see the problem of moha, which is delusion. So moha, the way Swamiji describes, is seeing whatever is dharma as adharma, and whatever is adharma starts to be seen as dharma. So that's what you will start seeing in these slokas. So just note that. Okay, would you like to continue reading who is an atatai?
Okay. Who is an Adatayi? Therefore, Arjuna said here, Papa will certainly come to us if we destroy these people. In his mind, there would be no punya and no satisfaction either, even though the Dhritarashtras were Atatayis or wrongdoers. An Atatayi is one who has committed any or all of the 6 kinds of wrongdoing. An arsonist, one that sets fires, is called an Agnida. One who commits the crime of poisoning someone is called a Garada. Garada. A person who comes after you with a weapon in hand when you are unarmed is a Shastranmata.
Yeah.
And a Thanabaha is one who robs others of their wealth. A Kshetrahara is one who encroaches upon or occupies someone else's land. In spite of calling them by a respectable word, pioneer, such people are, in fact, Kshetraharas. And one who kidnaps or grabs another man's wife is called a Dharahara. Duryodhana had committed all 6 kinds of crime. He had set fire to the wax house in which Pandavas were staying. Only because of some timely inside information were the Pandavas able to escape. He had also poisoned Bhima when he was young. He had robbed the Pandavas of their wealth, had occupied their kingdom, and would not give them so much as a small piece of land. He had tried to take away their wife, Draupadi. Those who have committed any of these crimes are called Atatayis. The law of the land gives them capital punishment. For these types of crimes, then there is no court of appeal. Duryodhana, being an Adatayi, deserved punishment according to the Dharma Shastra. In the empirical world, Dharma Shastra rules. Anyone going against this code code incurs sin and is necessarily punishable. Even so, knowing all this, Arjuna did not think that they would gain punya by destroying these wrongdoers. He was certain that only papa would be the result for reasons that he would explain to Krishna later. Arjuna thought that by destroying his own people, he would be creating great confusion in the society. Because they would be the perpetrators and would be the cause of this confusion, no law of dharma would excuse them. They would incur only papa in the end, although Duryodhana was an Adatayi. This was Arjuna's thinking. It was not correct, but that was how he saw it. His affection for these people caused confusion in his own mind, and he concluded.
Awesome. So that is the sloka at the end that describes those 6 qualities of who an Atatayi is. Like even there are so many names. See, one who actually steals money is called a Danapaha, Shastronmatta, somebody who overrules like Shastras. So there are beautiful names. I wanted to just highlight this. Obviously, we don't do insidious comments during our class, especially when we are studying Gita. But it is important to know from Europe, it was like a madness to go and encroach on other lands and cause damage there and somehow set camps and all of those things. Those in our Vedas would have been called, instead of calling them pioneers, we would have called them kshetraharas. That's the respect our culture, that the culture we are born in, we should be respectful of. Why it is literally stealing and setting and there are so many stories. If you want to just Google online whether they came to North America or they came to India or any of those countries, how much of damage that they have caused in those places is insane. Anyway, we will move on to sloka 37. Who would like to take on this sloka?
I can, Shriji.
Go ahead, Arpita ji.
Swajanam hi katham hatva. No,
Are we in
I'm wrong one.
37?
Sorry. We're at 37.
7.
Okay. Tasmanarha vayam hantum dhartarashtran swabandhavan swajanam hi katam hatva sukhina syama madhava.
Awesome.
Tasmat, therefore, swabandhavan, one's own relatives, dhartarashtran, the sons of Dhritarashtra, vayam, we, hantum na arha, should not kill, Madhava, O Krishna, swajanam, one's own people, hatva, having destroyed, katham hi, how indeed, sukhinaha, happy people, syama, we would become. Therefore, we should not kill our own relatives, the sons of Dhritarashtra. Destroying our own people, Madhava, and it's 46 there, Mayaha Shriyodhava Pati Madhava, the consort of goddess Lakshmi is Madhava. Krishna, how would we be happy? Because they would incur only papa by destroying their own relatives, Arjuna concluded that they were not qualified to kill the sons of Dhritarashtra and the others. O Krishna, he asked, how can we be happy by destroying our own people? Happiness under such circumstances would be impossible. With our own people gone, there will not be anyone with whom we can celebrate our victory. Calling him Madhusudana and Janardhana, Arjuna told Krishna that these were all people whom he did not want to kill. You are Madhusudana and Janardhana. You chastise those who are wrongdoers
and you destroy demons, all of whom are people unknown to you. My situation is different. These are all my own people. Arjuna thereby expressed that the kind of problem he had to deal with was entirely different from the ones Krishna had faced. Thus he continued.
Awesome. So here, a couple things. He's saying, and there will be one more of Vayam. Vayam is the two of us. So he's saying, how did the two of us come even to this battle? What were we thinking? So he's including Krishna into this delusion and continues to provide so many reasons why this is not the right thing to do. So he's also asking, Katham Sukinaha Shyama Madhava. How are we even going to be enjoying our life? How are we going to be happy after this? So you can conclude it almost like, therefore, our happiness is more important than dharma. That would be the conclusion from this, right? Okay, we'll move to the next two slokas and maybe we will conclude for the day. Who would like to take this? Satiji, you got a chance to do only a very short sloka. Would you like to take these on?
यद्यप्येते न पश्यन्ति लोभोपहत चेतसः कुलक्षयकृतं दोषं मित्रद्रोहे च पातकम् यदि अपि although एते these लोभ उपहत चेष्टः चेतसः people whose minds are overpowered by greed Kulakshaya Kritam, born of the destruction of one's family, dosham, defect or sin, mitra drohe, in the betrayal of one's friends, cha and padakam, sin, na pashyanti, do not see, Janardana, O Krishna, Kulakshaya Kritam, born of the destruction of the family, dosham, sin, prapashya prapashyadbhi, by those who see very clearly, asmabhi, by us, asmat papat, from this sin, nivartitum, to withdraw, katham na neyam, how is it not considered? Although these people whose minds are overpowered by greed do not see the defect in the destruction of one's family, and the sins of betraying one's friends, Janardana, Krishna, how come it is not considered by us who know that sin is born of the destruction of the family to withdraw from this sin? Here Krishna may have said, Arjuna, this Swajana argument, that is, how can I fight against my own people, is applicable to Duryodhana also, is it not? You are not the only one with this problem. Duryodhana, however, does not consider you one of his people. He considers you an enemy. He will not even give you a square inch of land in this kingdom. He does not look upon you as a Swajana, as someone who is related to him. He looks upon you as someone who has come from another planet, as it were, as an invader. Given the situation, what is this Swajana argument really all about? It is meaningless because Duryodhana does not feel the same way. If he did, there would be no war. You gave him every chance. You were ready to accept even a village, but he was not willing to give you one. Therefore, where is the problem? It is a simple question of dharma and adharma, right and wrong. You are supposed to be the protector of what is right, the protector of law and order. And if you allow adharma to continue, then it is a dereliction of duty on your part. This could very well have been Krishna's argument. Arjuna expected it, and this verse was his answer for it. He told Krishna that these people were unable to tell the difference between right and wrong because their minds had been destroyed by greed. Duryodhana was not a bad man. Greed was the problem. Because of greed, his discrimination, his commitment to right and wrong was lost. He was therefore unable to see what great destruction would be wrought by this war and what a crime it would be to destroy one's own family. Nor could he see the sin he would incur by droha, cheating and deceiving his own friends. The word mitra here means one's cousins and other relatives as well as friends. An example of droha is this. You ask a friend whom you trust to keep some money for you, and when you claim it back, if he or she says, "What money?" then that is betrayal. The betrayal of Christ by Judas is also an example of droha. The reason these people did not see was not because they were uneducated. In fact, they were all educated people. However, education is not required in order to differentiate right from wrong. Even uneducated people know the difference. The people Arjuna was referring to have been well brought up. They were not raised in criminal colonies. As children, they had lived in palaces with tutors. Yet they did not see this because they were possessed by greed. Their faculty of discrimination, their minds, had been robbed away by greed. Greed is capable of anything. You may be highly educated, but greed overpowers all education. It robs away one's understanding of right and wrong and one's capacity to interpret them. That being the case, the education only helps you justify your actions with cogent arguments. Here, too, the Dhritarashtra's used every argument they knew to justify what they wanted to do because of greed. This was why they could not see the destruction they were bringing about. But we do see the papa that is going to be incurred by us, Arjuna told Krishna. Recognizing this, how can we not turn away from this great sin? Arjuna wanted to know. How would they possibly consider this particular situation as anything other than one they should withdraw from? Anticipating yet another argument from Krishna that if the family had to be sacrificed in order to protect Dharma, then it should be done. Arjuna continued.
And did you want to do just one more sloka? This is not too long.
40.
Yeah.
Kulakshay, oh, okay. Kulakshaye pranashyanti kuladharma sanatanaha dharme nashte kulam krishna adharmo bhavatyuta. Kulakshaye, when the family is destroyed, sanatanaha, the ancient, kuladharma, the dharmas of the family, pranashyanti, they die. Dharme naste, when the dharma is lost. Adharma, kulam krishnam, the entire family. Abhibhavati uta, will not overwhelm. When the family is destroyed, the ancient dharmas of the family perish. When the dharma is lost, will not adharma overwhelm the entire family? Arjuna felt that if the destruction of the clan were to be looked at in this way, the problem would always remain because there would be no one to establish dharma and adharma. Therefore, Arjuna did not agree with the argument that dharma was to be protected at the cost of destroying one's relatives. This verse reveals how he further substantiated his argument. When important members of a family are destroyed, everything to be done by that particular family will also be destroyed. It is because dharma cannot be protected unless the dharmi, the one who follows the dharma, is protected. Dharma cannot be protected in a bottle. Dharma is not like historical scrolls that can be stored for posterity so that even if a whole civilization is destroyed, a future generation can find the scrolls and know the history. Dharma cannot be preserved by writing it up and keeping it somewhere. Only when the person following the Dharma is protected, is dharma itself protected. Just as the potness of a pot cannot be retained if a pot is destroyed, so too dharma cannot be retained if the dharmi, the one who follows the dharma, is destroyed. Flowing from time immemorial, from one generation to the next, this ancient family dharma, kula dharma, is perennial because dharma, what is to be done and what is not to be done, runs in the family. It will be destroyed if the family is destroyed. Moreover, when the dharma is destroyed, those who survived because they were not in the battlefield will definitely succumb to adharma. It was Arjuna's argument here, one that was quite convincing. He then went on to say,
Awesome. Thank you so much, Satiji. So we'll conclude here. The Kula Dharma part and the family and the culture and the values is very important. And there is a very important point that will come from in verse 41 as an extension to this sloka. So we'll, once we do sloka 41 next week, we will also try to understand what the Kula Dharma is and that sort of stuff. Okay, we'll conclude it here with a short prayer. So we are in time for our Bhagavatam class. ॐ सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु. Sarvam Srimannarayana Charanaravindarpanamas. Thank you so much for joining. And Satiji, I will make sure that I post the slokas, the breakdown of this the chapter properly. Once I conclude, I'll just check one more time with Swamiji's breakdown in from my class notes, and I'll post it in
okay,
the group.
okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a wonderful
Thank
evening,
you.
everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dhanyavadaha.
Dhanyavadaha.
So much.